I'm audible, visible? Do give me thumbs up if everything is fine at your end. I'm audible, visible? So hope you are doing good. कैसे हैं आप लोग? Great. So you must have got the updated schedule. थोड़ा सा change है एक week का because of the so many classes these days. Actually, I'm launching a foundation batch plus I'm launching a mentorship program for pre-com mains GS. So because of that, I was not getting much time. But as I have told you that this promise would be completed, commitment as done over here will be completed. We will be just a week late. That's it. Nothing else. So today we have to start the ideologies section. Okay. So this ideology is unit number 7 in paper 1 part A. Now when it comes to ideology, things are straight, things are simple, and today we have to discuss liberalism. So in liberalism, I have given you two kinds of questions. One is just neoliberalism, another is liberalism versus social embeddedness. You must have gone through. Low voice. Is voice low with everyone today? How come? Let me check. Yes, PSIR optional batch I'm starting from Friday. That would be live. I'll share the details soon. Let me see. Is voice fine with is everyone facing the problem of low voice? Okay. Now check. PSI notes would be ready by 15th of October, around Diwali. To be very specific with one date. Little bit low. Now this would be fine. Let me know if it's fine. I don't understand what happens to YouTube. Otherwise, it's always working. Now, okay, fine. Must be the battery error. Fine. So, let us start the topic. And topic is about liberalism. So, we are discussing liberalism over here. So, when it comes to liberalism, there is one question. The question is, where's the question? This. Neoliberalism sees competition as the defining characteristic of human relations. Neoliberalism sees the competition as the defining characteristic of human relations. Now let us see that in such kind of questions how we are going to write the answer. We know that it is about neoliberalism. ऐसे questions में what we can do is we can figure out the keywords, core keywords. So keyword number 1 over here is obviously neoliberalism. Keyword number 2 is that how this particular idea promotes the basic characteristic of human relations, that is the competition. So that means neoliberalism sees competition as the core criteria to evaluate human relations. When it comes to human relations, competition happens to be the fundamental pillar in neoliberal debates. This is what the question is all about. Getting this? So, ऐसे हम क्या करेंगे? We'll try to figure out the keywords. The keywords over here is obviously neoliberalism. You have to delve into neoliberalism. You have to talk about neoliberalism. You have to tell them that why and how neoliberalism is important. What exactly is neoliberalism? How it started? How it is the manifestation of the 19th century classical liberalism. What is neoliberalism? Let us quickly recap everything. Neoliberalism is nothing but it is the 19th century classical liberalism presented in 1970s through the writings of Reagan and Thatcher. In 1970s, because of the over dominance of the state in the market was crumbling. There was crisis in Europe. There was crisis in US. Too much of state interference was creating the problems in the market system. The Adam Smith's invisible hand or the market balance was distorted. And this is where Thatcher and Reagan came up with the idea, let us now kick the state out. The way we brought the state in 1940, let us now kick it out. And this is where the era of neoliberalism started in Europe and US. Ultimately, that era came to India in 1991 with LPG reforms. So this is what is neoliberalism. There can be one definition of writing down neoliberalism, that neoliberalism is nothing but the re-implementation of the 19th century classical liberalism in which state has a very meager and very minimalistic role to play. This can be one definition. So let us see the kind of definition. Neoliberalism is nothing but resurgence of the 19th century classical liberalism focusing upon the laissez-faire system or focusing upon the free market system and state as a night watchman. This can be one way. In fact, you can also talk about Foucault's definition. Foucault's definition is that neoliberalism is something which promotes human as the entrepreneurs of themselves. So this is one definition which can be utilized and used as per the demand of the question. इसे हम question की demand पे भी use कर सकते हैं. अभी वापस आएंगे इस चीज पे. So neoliberalism is nothing but where state is being treated as a night watchman. State has no role to play. State is a laissez-faire. State is only for the protection of rights. State has the minimalistic role in the system. This is what is called as neoliberalism. Got this? Now, resurgence, free market, state. This is a 10 marker. This question happens to be a 10 marker. In 10 marker, you just have to briefly go with the definition. So it's a school of liberalism characterized by resurgence of 19th century classical liberalism associated with free market. It's a political philosophy that upholds for individual liberty, deregulation, reduction in the government spendings and free market system. So out of these 2 points, you can make one single definition which can be rewritten in the examination. Straightforward, you can paste it over there. This is the introduction to the question. Now comes the second part, now comes the core part, that how it sees the human relations through the prism of competition. So neoliberalism by very nature has the following characteristics. Then you can jump upon the characteristics. Here you can talk about Foucault. Here you can talk about the Milton Friedman. Here you can talk about Hayek. You can talk about these scholars. You can talk about Reagan. You can talk about Thatcher. So basic characteristics are individual liberty. It promotes individual liberty. It goes for the deregulation. It goes for the free market system. It goes for the reduction in the government spending. So this can be your second or third paragraph depending upon how you are writing the definition, how you are writing the definition. Now comes the third paragraph. Now onwards, you have to, what you can do is you can use these scholars for defining the characteristics of the neoliberalism. But over here, the problem we would face, that we do not have more than 2 pages. So we cannot put everything over here. This slide is just for your information, depending upon if the question happens to be a 15 marker. Agar question 15 marker aata hai, then you can use these scholars. Otherwise, in 10 marker, you cannot put up so many scholars, because already what these scholars are saying, we have already told them in the introduction. So you can use any 1 or 2 scholars in the introduction. Even 1 would suffice over here. 10 marker hai, 1 scholar se definition is more than sufficient. Are you getting this? Now comes scholars की बात हो गई. Scholars के बाद आ जाता है the how neoliberalism and competition goes hand in hand. Now you have to establish a relationship between the neoliberal system and the competitive spirit of humans. So basically the question is saying कि human में जो competitive spirit है उसे neoliberalism बहुत easily या न्यूलिबरलिज्म ह्यूमन रिलेशंस को देखता ही कंपटीशन की प्रिज्म से है, नजर से है. नाउ हाउ कम दिस इज पॉसिबल? जस्टिफाई द क्वेश्चन. नाउ व्हाटएवर हैज बीन आस्क्ड इन द क्वेश्चन यू हैव टू जस्टिफाई इट थ्रू द paragraphs. Now what exactly is the justification over here? Citizens are treated as consumers over here. Then it only rewards the merit system. It pushes the efficiency or punishes the inefficiency. It can be both things. Market-like reforms, market-suiting reforms. Then competition is natural and public goods should be delivered through a private system. This is what neoliberalism is talking about, and this is where we are trying to establish. देखो एक बात ध्यान रखना, the error student would commit in this answer is they would directly write upon neoliberalism. सब लिख लेंगे, लेकिन the question has to be written neoliberalism vis-a-vis competition. So in your body you have to tell them, you have to justify or you have to connect a link between the competitive spirit and neoliberalism, that how both goes hand in hand. दोनों कैसे एक साथ चलते हैं, this has to be discussed. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, कोर एरिया है. अदरवाइज क्या हो रहा है, स्टूडेंट्स आर डायरेक्टली राइटिंग अपॉन liberalism, they are discussing neoliberalism, they are committing they are telling the features, criticizing and then moving forward. कहीं पर भी आंसर में कंपटीशन वाला जो आइडिया है वो नहीं मेंशन किया है. ये एसेंस है, तभी मैंने स्टार्टिंग में कीवर्ड्स में दोनों चीजें लिखी थी. Both happens to be the keyword of this answer, not just one. Then definitely, then it also talks about the state's roles, that state has a very minimum role, state is a night watchman, state is laissez-faire, state should promote free competition, state exactly frames the competition. Hayek कहता है कि state's role is to frame the competition and not to interfere. At the same time, market fundamentalism is to be promoted and social Darwinism भी state promote करता है. State कहता है ना survival of the fittest है. It's an open system, it's a liberal system, go and earn, you have the you have all the benefits with you. हमने जो भी आपको देना था हमने दे दिया. What we have done is we have created the procedural justice, क्योंकि neoliberalism would talk about only procedural justice, कि justice में procedure है, equality before law है. अब now after that equality and everyone is free to start their business. If someone becomes a edtech and someone remains a small coaching, मतलब वही है ना सिस्टम. दैट स्टेट का जो रोल है बहुत कैटेगोरिकली डिफाइंड है न्यूलिबरलिज्म में. स्टेट विल बी दी फैसिलिटेटर टू द कंपटीशन. स्टेट के पास एक ही काम है, टू फैसिलिटेट द कंपटीशन, एंड दैट स्टेट वुड बी डूइंग थ्रू वेरियस एंगल्स. एंड व्हाट आर दोज एंगल्स? दीज आर दोज एंगल्स. फाइन, डन. नेक्स्ट कम्स, जैसे इसमें आप हाइक की बात कर सकते हैं. स्कॉलर्स में वैसे इस टॉपिक में व्हाट यू कैन डू इज यू कैन टॉक अबाउट हाइक, यू कैन टॉक अबाउट फ्राइडमैन. दो बहुत है. थोड़े ट्रेडिशनल स्कॉलर्स आप कहेंगे सर नए स्कॉलर्स, इसमें नए स्कॉलर्स की अपने को जरूरत नहीं है, क्वेश्चन 10 मार्कर है. बट नेवरदलेस दिस आइडिया हैज बीन वाइडली क्रिटिसाइज्ड. देखो न्यू लिबरल्स के क्रिटिक में कौन आएगा? सबसे पहले न्यू लिबरल्स के क्रिटिक में मार्क्सिस्ट आ जाएंगे, है ना. मार्क्सिस्ट कहेंगे कुछ नहीं कर रहे आप सिर्फ वो डिवाइड बिटवीन दी टू क्लासेस आप इंक्रीज कर रहे हो. दिस इज वेयर द स्टेट इज यूजिंग दिस आइडिया जस्ट टू परपेचुएट द डोमिनेंस ओवर दी बुर्जुआजी, द प्रोलेटेरिएट क्लास. And this is where the proletariat class is just facing the exploitation. Simple. Then उसके बाद कार्ल पोने का एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये ठीक है. ये कहता है कि ये जो न्यू लिबरलिज्म है ना, ये डिसएम्बेडेड सेल्फ बना देता है. जैसे अभी हम आगे पढ़ेंगे एम्बेडेड सेल्फ का कॉन्सेप्ट. डिसएम्बेडेड सेल्फ मीन्स दैट ह्यूमन इज डिवॉइड ऑफ द सोशल रियलिटीज. ह्यूमन इज जस्ट ट्रीटेड एज अ इकोनॉमिक मैन. हर्बर्ट मार्क्यूज का वन डायमेंशनल मैन भी यहाँ ला सकते हो. दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन अपने पास जगह कितनी है. स्कॉलर्स की कमी नहीं है, जगह की कमी है. सो वी हैव टू राइट द बेस्ट. नाउ कम्स कि कार्ल पोने का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है अबाउट द डिसएम्बेडेड सेल्फ, दैट ह्यूमन हैज बीन डिसएम्बेडेड फ्रॉम द सोशल सिस्टम. ह्यूमन जो है वो एटोमिस्टिक सेल्फ की तरफ प्रमोट किया गया है. सेन का भी यही मानना है कि जस्ट फोकसिंग अपॉन मार्केट्स विदाउट डेवलपिंग दी कैपेबिलिटीज इज नॉट गोइंग टू फुलफिल दी नीड्स ऑफ द ह्यूमंस. एट द सेम टाइम कम्युनिटेरियन का तो सबसे बड़ा क्रिटिक आता ही है. कम्युनिटेरियंस तो हैं ही सबसे बड़े क्रिटिक ऑफ द लिबरल सिस्टम. तो वो तो कहते ही हैं कि व्हाट यू आर क्रिएटिंग, यू आर जस्ट क्रिएटिंग अ एटोमिस्टिक इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक ह्यूमन. क्लियर? तो ये क्रिटिसिज्म हो गया. बट नेवरदलेस, अच्छा ये एक काम और है, न्यू लिबरलिज्म का जो क्राइसिस है वो करंट सिस्टम में भी दिखता है कि ये जो क्रिटिक्स हैं ये सही कह रहे थे. कैसे सही कह रहे थे? यू कैन टेल देम दैट स्टेट ड्यूरिंग, अब आप कहो कि स्टेट हैज टू रोल बैक, बट ड्यूरिंग पेंडेमिक इट वाज स्टेट विच हेल्प during the post 2008 crisis it was state that helped. So ultimately you cannot defy the role of state in the development of human. State has to be there. Rolling back of state will not help. In fact, in the welfareist governments, even in the countries like US, the liberal countries like US, the government goes for welfare in education, reservation system. So state has a very important role to play. You cannot just talk about the rollback of state. Without state, the system would crumble. Without state, or if state will not interfere, there would be too much of inequality. Thomas Piketty ला सकते हो यहाँ पे. Thomas Piketty is very right. He is writing in post 2008 system. Clear? So this is where you can talk about. देखो इसमें scholars की कमी नहीं है. What we need to do is we need to pick and choose the most important scholars. हमें अच्छे scholars यहाँ पे लिखने हैं. Then उसके बाद nevertheless सारी problems अपनी जगह. Neoliberalism as an ideology has ensured the development of human. आप इस तरह से एक final conclusion लिख सकते हो. Clear? कि that this particular ideology has been very much instrumental in the liberal, in the freedom or in the liberation of humans from the clutches of the state. ये ला सकते हो है ना कि this is basically जैसे road to serfdom का concept आप उससे भी end कर सकते हो. That he has rightly called that too much of state interference is nothing but road to the serfdom, and neoliberalism is the right way of living a liberal life. Clear? Fine. तो you can end with hikes. आप end कर सकते हो. आप in general एक definition से end कर सकते हो. Clear? So today neoliberalism has established itself as a hegemonic ideology of the world under the globalization. With the advent of globalization, the idea of neoliberalism becomes very important, and despite of the criticism, this has basically ensured the liberation of human, or the liberty of or the proper functioning of markets, something like this. ठीक है? So despite of the drawbacks, many times this particular idea has been very much instrumental. Is it clear? कर पाओगे ना? This is a very straightforward question. दूसरा क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. आज के क्वेश्चंस आर नॉट टू प्रॉब्लमैटिक, बहुत सिंपल है. Liberalism posits the existence of generic individuals and fails to account for social embeddedness. Comment. Now it's a 20 marker. अब ये 20 मार्कर में you have a lot of scope to write. 20 मार्कर में आपको liberalism versus communitarianism के बीच का difference draw करना है. You have to tell them that how liberalism promotes. अभी हमने पढ़ा ना कि जब भी liberalism आएगा तो क्या प्रॉब्लम आएगी? प्रॉब्लम आएगी, काल्पोनी का मानना है दैट डिसएम्बेडेड ह्यूमन आएगा. यही तो कह रहे हैं. कम्युनिटेरियंस का भी यही मानना है कि व्हाट दिस आइडिया इज डूइंग, इट इज नॉट टेकिंग द अकाउंट ऑफ द सोशल एम्बेडेडनेस, दैट ह्यूमन इज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ सोसाइटी, ह्यूमन इज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ कल्चर, ह्यूमन इज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ लैंग्वेज, ह्यूमन इज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ हिज कम्युनिटी, ह्यूमन इज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ हिज religion. So there are multiple social factors which are involved in shaping the human. Liberalism has just taken away those traits of human. यही क्वेश्चन है ना कि लिबरलिज्म ने क्या किया? लिबरलिज्म ने वो सारे जो ट्रेट्स थे जो उसको कम्युनिटी में रहने से मिले थे वो सब ले लिए और उसको इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक सेल्फ बना दिया, उसको एटोमिस्टिक मैन बना दिया. क्लियर? इट डजंट अकाउंट द सोशल एम्बेडेडनेस. नाउ अगेन इसमें भी हम यही कर सकते हैं. फर्स्ट यू हैव टू टेल देम. देखो सीधा कम्युनिटेरियन क्रिटिक पे मत चले जाना. पहले आप बताओगे व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज लिबरलिज्म. ये नियो वगैरह कुछ नहीं है, जनरल लिबरलिज्म की बात हो रही है. इन जनरल द होल थ्योरी ऑफ लिबरलिज्म, होल आइडियोलॉजी फ्रॉम क्लासिकल टू द सोशल लिबरलिज्म. पहले आप बता दोगे व्हाट लिबरलिज्म इज ऑल अबाउट, व्हाट लिबरलिज्म या व्हाट काइंड्स ऑफ फीचर्स द लिबरलिज्म हैज. तो इस तरह से यू विल मूव फॉरवर्ड, यू विल टेल देम दैट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज लिबरलिज्म and how liberalism over the time has become the dominant ideology in the international system. ठीक है, in the era of globalization. Second is that what are the traits of liberalism. अभी हमने डिस्कस किया all the traits, वही सारे traits रिपीट होंगे. Then what exactly are the traits of the communitarianism and why communitarians are criticizing the liberalism. Clear? तो इस तरह से what you will do is, जैसे liberalism is all about atomistic self, individualistic and self-sufficient human. On the other hand, people like Taylor, people like Sandel, people like McIntyre, ठीक है, माइकल वॉल्जर, माइकल सैंडल, ये सब क्या कह रहे हैं? मैकिंटायर, ये सब क्या कह रहे हैं? कह रहे हैं कि भैया इट इज ऑल अबाउट द एम्बेडेडनेस, ह्यूमन हैज सम सोशल एम्बेडेडनेस, और वो लिबरलिज्म ने खत्म कर दिया, ये भी हमने डिस्कस किया। नाउ नेक्स्ट कम्स व्हाट एग्जैक्टली कम्युनिटेरियनिज्म इज ऑल अबाउट। कम्युनिटेरियनिज्म ने इसको कैसे क्रिटिसाइज किया है? नाउ कम्स द क्रिटिसिज्म। अब आप क्या कर सकते हैं, जो हमने अभी बात की है उसी को आप एक्सपैंड करेंगे एंड यू विल टेल विद द स्कॉलर्स। यहाँ पे स्कॉलर्स आर रिक्वायर्ड, सो व्हाट यू कैन डू इज ईच स्कॉलर्स व्यू पॉइंट हैज टू बी गिवन। कम्युनिटेरियनिज्म में आप हर एक स्कॉलर का एक एक क्रिटिसिज्म देते चलोगे, आप वॉल्जर का, सैंडल का, मैकिंटायर का, इन सब का क्रिटिसिज्म देते चलोगे, ठीक है। एंड अल्टीमेटली यू विल राइट ऑलमोस्ट अ पेज ऑन दिस। तो अब देखो ये 20 मार्कर है, एक बार ये देख लेते हैं कि 20 मार्कर को कैसे डिवाइड करना है। ये एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है इसमें, नहीं तो क्वेश्चन में फ्लो नहीं आएगा। जस्ट divide the 20 marker in 4 pages. So page number 1, would be devoted to liberalism, evolution, and here you have liberty to write the scholars, what other scholars are talking about liberalism. Page number 2 would be devoted to the features and characteristics. These scholars can also be put up over here. If you have the characteristics through scholars, let us say you are trying to tell the characteristics through scholars, so do not put scholars over here and then the characteristics. Try to integrate this at one place. इस तरह से you will end up writing 2 pages. Then page number 3, communitarian critique. This can also start from half of the page 2. ये देखो, ये डिपेंड करेगा कि आपके पास कितना कंटेंट है, तो इसको थोड़ा सा आप ये डोंट ट्रीट इट एज अ रूल ऑफ थंब, आप इसको थोड़ा सा लिबरल होके लिख सकते हैं। दिस माइट एंड इन 1.5 पेज और 2 pages. This might start from the 3rd page or quarter to 2 pages. Then communitarian critique, after writing down, this will take 1 page because you have 4 to 5 communitarian scholars, everyone talking about that how liberalism has taken away the social embeddedness of human. And then defense of liberalism and how it has helped the contemporary global world. Getting this? Is it fine everyone? तो इस तरह से आप 4 पेजेस में इसको डिवाइड कर सकते हैं। कोर वैल्यूज, क्रिटिसिज्म, देन यू हैव क्रिटिसिज्म में यू हैव फेमिनिस्ट एज वेल। व्हाई जस्ट, अच्छा 20 मार्कर है, सो व्हाई जस्ट स्टिक टू, लेट अस से कंटेंट कम है 20 मार्कर में, तो डोंट स्टिक टू कम्युनिटेरियन, गिव द मार्क्सिस्ट क्रिटिसिज्म, फेमिनिस्ट क्रिटिसिज्म, वो क्या, दैट कैन बी इनकॉर्पोरेटेड। सो देखो ये सब डिपेंड करेगा कि हाउ मच पेजेस आर टू बी रिटन। तो 20 मार्कर में तो यू हैव द फुल कैनवस, फिर तो आप यू कैन इंसर्ट द अदर क्रिटिक्स एज वेल। लेकिन हाँ, आपको लगता है कि आपके पास सफिशिएंट कंटेंट है तो आप इसको स्किप कर सकते हो, बट आप इसको लिख लो तो दैट वुड बिकम द कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव आंसर। एंड देन अल्टीमेटली एट द एंड ये सारी बातें करके हम बता देंगे दैट हाउ इट एंश्योर्स राइट बेस्ड सिस्टम। ओके, सो it ensures procedural justice, it ensures right based system. This idea is highly essential in the modern system. You can see that this particular idea of liberalism has ensured a global world. So this is where these points are required. Again scholars will repeat, जो हमने पहले scholars बात की है वही scholars would be utilized again. So liberalism, if you see the kind of questions, इसमें एक सबसे अच्छी चीज ये है liberalism में, you just have to mug up the scholars, you just have to mug up the traits of state. लिबरलिज्म में स्टेट के क्या ट्रेड्स हैं, कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं, लिबरलिज्म एज एन आइडिया के क्या कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं, लिबरलिज्म के 4 क्रिटिसिज्म उठा लो, एक कम्युनिटेरियन व्यू पॉइंट से उठा लो, एक फेमिनिस्ट व्यू पॉइंट से उठा लो, एक आप दी मार्क्सिस्ट व्यू पॉइंट से उठा लो, और एक करंट ग्लोबल क्राइसिस के हिसाब से उठा लो, ठीक है, जहाँ पे स्टेट हैज़ बिकम हाईली डोमिनेंट और नेसेसिटी ऑफ स्टेट हैज़ नॉट बीन न्यूट्रलाइज्ड। 2008 के बाद भी स्टेट की ज़रूरत पड़ी और पैंडेमिक में भी स्टेट की ज़रूरत पड़ी, उससे पता चल जाता है कि रोलिंग बैक विल नॉट फंक्शन, विल नॉट वर्क। क्लियर? Got this? Any doubt? Yes, what's the doubt? Okay, anyone else? So there's a doubt on briefly distinguish between, okay, positive and social liberalism. That's it. Anyone? Let us know quickly. I just provided you a handout 2 days back. There's a table in that. Now quickly recall. कौन बताएगा? Yes, classes की PDFs are in the Telegram channel only. मैं एक बार Telegram का लिंक आपको दे देता हूँ. अच्छा, वो वाला लिंक नहीं होगा शायद, कोई शेयर करेगा लिंक. लेट मी सी. इसके थ्रू मिल जाएगा आपको PDFs ना. You can find it through them. Why? हाँ, इस पे आ रहे थे. क्लासिकल आया. क्लासिकल की शॉर्ट कमिंग्स थी. क्या शॉर्ट कमिंग्स थी? Welfareism was required. Okay. Crisis, Great Depression, hence state. Goods to be given by state. Done. Got this? Yes. What next? Jaldi jaldi batao. Now let us do this exercise. This is the most straight topic. क्यों आया? Positive इसलिए आया because there was the crisis in the existing system. हो गया? ठीक है. So these are the basic differences that what happened that during the classical liberalism state was completely devoid of the market manipulation. State was not interfering, state was not taking care of the population. फिर उसके बाद 20s में crisis आनी start होती है and this is where the role of state became highly important. By the time state interfere करता तब तक depression आ चुका था. Then उसके बाद 1940s में the British economist Keynes was of the view that the system has to be managed both by state and market, and this is where he tried to incorporate a system in which state has a role to play. State को role play करना पड़ेगा. Okay, what kind of role? State has to provide the education goods, the other kinds of goods, healthcare goods, whereas market would be taking care of the other things. ये करके हमने माना. ठीक है. Then what after that? After that थोड़ा टाइम में स्टेट आया, स्टेट ओवर पावर करने लग गया, स्टेट डिस्टॉर्टेड द मार्केट, स्टेट क्रिएटेड अ लॉट ऑफ बजट डेफिसिट्स, स्टेट क्रिएटेड अ लॉट ऑफ लॉसेस, स्टेट बिकेम द बिजनेसमैन और स्टेट स्टार्टेड डूइंग द बिजनेस. एंड 1970s में समझ में आया दैट स्टेट हैज़ नो बिजनेस टू बी इन बिजनेस, एंड दिस इज वेयर थैचर एंड रीगन वांटेड टू रिमूव. 2008 तक ऐसे ही चलता रहा. लेटर ऑन आफ्टर 2000 the social cracks, the social cleavages became very evident. The social injustice was very evident, and this was a time when Rawls' writing became very popular. Egalitarianism became the core idea of the many newly made states. At the same time, Amartya Sen's idea of justice, Martha Nussbaum idea of justice, and in US, the problem of the 2008 crash, 2007 crash, it also highlighted the shortcomings of the state non-state system, too much market system, and this is where the state had to come again as a social liberal to ensure the welfareism. Okay, because now you have to talk about environmentalism, welfareism. You have to provide the benefits to the masses. You have to provide the basic minimum wages. Too much of inequality was there, and hence the state became highly popular again. And this is where Thomas Piketty is saying, yes, state has to be there, because without state there would not be any. I just posted a content. Have you gone through that note? Okay, so that is a tabular format. That would be very helpful. You can quote Stiglitz as well. This is classical versus. ठीक है, I guess I missed that. है वैसे इसमें social liberalism. ये रहा. Okay. It's in notes only. So positive versus social. Clear? So interventionist role, again interventionist, but the kind of intervention has to be different, because by this time state role was much nuanced. State role was had become highly essential. Okay, that state has to provide welfare. At the same time, state has to increase the capabilities of the people. State has to just give the employment. State has to empower the people. So social liberal is the current system in which state is not just acting as a service provider or acting as a welfare provider. It is also ensuring that human development should happen. You can see this. This was in 1940s. There was no development approach. It was only growth-centric system. This is highly development approach. Now you have the sustainable development goals as well. So state has to take care of the SDGs as well. Now state is responsible for implementing the SDGs and completing the target of SDGs. State has to take care of your healthcare. State has to achieve the 100% education rate, gross enrollment rate, 100% healthcare system. So and 100% you can say good governance system. So everywhere now state has to highlight not just as a service provider but as a developer as well. Development has to happen, and that development has to be as per the international standards. So this is the basic difference. यहाँ पे state was merely कि सर्विस जॉब नहीं मिल रही, चलो हम फैक्ट्री लगा देते हैं. यहाँ पे state is जॉब नहीं मिल रही, चलो स्किल्स दे देते हैं, चलो फूड दे देते हैं, चलो आपको हेल्थ केयर सर्विसेज दे देते हैं. Getting this? So it is more about social security. It is more about just welfareism. And post 2000 states, modern liberal states became social liberal states. Getting this? Okay, so this document is available in the Telegram channel. You can download it, because now there can be another question, what are the new challenges? So I have tried to sum up everything in a very crystal clear manner, and these are very simple straightforward notes. इसको पढ़ोगे समझ में आ जाएगा. इसमें प्लस इसमें कोई जार्गन नहीं है, इसमें कोई चैट जीपीटी नहीं है, ये सब खुद के बनाए हुए नोट्स हैं जैसे बनाए जाने चाहिए. चैट जीपीटी यूजुअली मेक्स द थिंग्स कॉम्प्लेक्स, है ना, ये इजी है. क्लियर? Do read it once. If you find any doubt, you can ask. I guess that is all for the day. We are meeting day after tomorrow. Then we would be covering socialism and Marxism. So there would be one question on socialism, a PYQ, one question on Marxism. Okay, fine. Take care, everyone. Meanwhile, if you are not able to find out the PDFs, these PDFs, you can join this channel. I'll provide the link to the free PSIR classes sessions on this channel only, and from there you can download all the PDFs. Okay, MF. Take care, everyone. Happy learning. See you on Friday.